This meeting is held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. Adequate notice has been provided to the Coaster and the Asbury Park Press. All notices are on file with the Board Secretary. Irina, please call us to order.
Today is Tuesday, October 22nd, 7:05 p.m. Christopher Amalone.
Here.
Russell Lewis.
Here.
Daniel Harris.
Here.
Eric Albo.
Here.
Brittany Ashton.
Here.
Jill Potter.
Here.
Tim Slick.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, just a couple of housekeeping issues. First, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of October 8th, 2019.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll make a motion to carry the College Achieve Public Charter School to December 10th, 2019 with further notice.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And we have a
All right.
letter from Mr. Reed, check for 507 bond,
Okay.
entered to exhibit as B1.
And that will extend the time constraints that we have?
Yes, it's in there. Yeah, I reviewed the notices, they're in good form, so we have jurisdiction. His engineer slash planner called him this afternoon, he's ill, couldn't make it tonight, so we couldn't really proceed without him.
Thank you, Jack. Did we give them a date, Irina, where they would like to carry
Yes,
to?
sir. They will be carried to January 7th of 2020.
Wow, it's weird saying that. I'll make a motion to carry the Bond Street, 507 Bond Street application, Paul and Thomas Egan, to January 7th, 2020, without further notice.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Carried.
All right, so moving on to the first application, and the only application we have tonight is Ms. Lewis and 1307 4th Avenue.
We have jurisdiction on this one as well, the notices are in good form and timely.
Thank you, Jack.
Okay.
Good evening, Michael Wenning of the firm of Keith Winters and Wenning in Bradley Beach on behalf of the applicant, Kate Lewis. She's the owner of 1307 4th Avenue, which is block 20, or lot 2104. It's an existing single-family structure which she seeks to construct a covered front porch. Requires a variance for building coverage. We have with us tonight Mr. Don Passman, her architect, who utilized as our witness.
He's presenting, Mr. Wayne.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony given in these proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
State your name and record.
Donald J. Passman.
Thank you.
Mr. Passman, what's your occupation?
I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey and others.
And you have certifications to that effect? Licenses to that?
I've been licensed, yes.
And have you, give us a little benefit of your experience for the board. I believe you've been before this board.
I have testified many times before this board. If they want to hear my credentials, I'd be glad to announce them.
I accept your credentials.
Okay.
While we're at it, let's get to Donna Swiner's level because there's a
Do you
discussion.
swear affirm the testimony given during this proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and your affiliation with the city.
Donna Miller, board planner.
Thank you.
All right, you were contacted by the applicant Kate Lewis, owner of 1307 4th Avenue.
Yes.
And why did she contact you?
She wanted to, I've done other work for her before, but in this case, it was for putting a front porch, covered porch, on her existing single-family home.
And you submitted plans to that effect?
Went through a design phase, and we ended up with what we are presenting today to the board, which is a proposal for a 18-foot, 8-inch wide by 13 feet, as was mentioned, porch covered with a roof.
And was that design driven by the design of the house itself?
Well, it kind of came from what Ms. Lewis had shown me a picture of, which hangs in the house. A house that I believe she could testify to it. She grew up in it for most of her life. And there was a front porch on it. And so now her desire is, I'd like a front porch again. And but I don't want what was there because it was so old-fashioned. And so we came up with a proposal to change that design make it compatible with the house and the surrounding neighborhood, but mainly to maintain its width, but to give it a little bit more depth so that it could be more useful. Previously, it was about 9 feet. Oh, all right, so the existing like flat roofed porch, which I have a photo of, or a black and white rendition, had a flat roof on it, a couple columns in front. It must have fallen down at some point way back when, but what exists is the masonry raised concrete porch below. That porch has the same width dimension, 18'8". The depth is, sorry, I'm gonna go.
Don, you want to mark that as?
13 foot 5.5.
Sorry, you want to mark that whole thing as A1? Or, yeah, A1.
A1.
So it's 13 foot 5.5 inches deep. The existing raised porch is 9'9". And so having this porch more useful made it deeper.
Did you take into consideration the neighbor depth of their porches?
Yes, so on either side, there are front porches which extend beyond the dwelling itself. On one side, the left side, which is lot 21, that porch is at, I think, 19.95 feet from the property line. The lot 19 on the right side of this lot 20 is 14.5. So we're situated at 16.7, which is sort of halfway in between. So you get this staggered effect.
And
if you will.
architecturally, is that better to stagger rather than follow one or the other?
Well, if we followed the one on the left, we wouldn't have much of a porch. If we followed the one on the right, it'd be almost too big and probably not appropriate for this actual design. Forgetting the fact that it aligns with the one next door, it just would have been another few feet bigger, which was unnecessary. So we picked sort of this middle ground where the size of the porch would be the size of a nice room for furniture, etc. Not 9'9", it's a little tight, not 16 feet deep, but this 13'6", basically. And by the time you have the
Mr.
posts
Pastor,
and the
was there
railings.
originally a porch there? Is that what you said?
Yes, there was, and I have a photo that shows that. But, you know, this wasn't enclosed either, but they're both roofed and they have columns.
And it was always designed with the chimney in the front of the house like that?
Yeah, that's the living room, and that's that focal point in the middle. It's very
It's
interesting.
very
But
unusual
It doesn't look like it was
Front
added.
house.
Right, it doesn't look added, it looks like
house-
that's the way
The
it
house
was.
is sideways to the street.
It's sideways. The front steps are on the side, the west side. So it looks like it just rotated
And
for the
there's-
size of the lot.
And there's a sister house right next door, correct?
Sort of.
Similar, yeah.
Yeah.
You're very familiar with it, aren't you, Donna?
I live there.
Yeah.
This style of house is almost exactly the same as the house I had at
So they're
1319. That Dutch colonial gambrel
Right.
roof with, my porch was on the back rather than on the side. But the chimney orientation, living room orientation, floor plan's basically the same. Yeah.
And the front door is on the side of
It's
the
on
house.
the west side.
Right.
There's a couple of
So
steps. that
where the
come up.
porch is going to be, that you're going to be placing it though, has 2 French doors on each side?
There's a
Yes.
single French door on either
Yeah.
side flanking the chimney, the brick chimney.
Does
And
the
that's
board
the
have
living room
pictures?
there.
That is the living room.
Does the board have pictures of the existing?
Yes.
And you have a picture of what was there previously?
Yes.
Can we,
This
Are we
actually,
able to look
this
at that?
actually exists in that Asbury Park picture history book. And they
Oh.
have addresses in the back, and it has names of who used to own the houses. It goes from the 20s to the 30s.
Mhm.
Anyway, this is a shot of that.
A2.
It's-
and you're saying that the original porch was basically 9 feet deep, 9 something, almost 10, and proposed is around,
13'6".
so we're at 3.5 feet.
Roughly, yes.
Thank you.
And that was driven by the neighbors' porches.
You know, it was a compromise between what's the size of a nice room, what do the other people have, let's set this somewhat in between left and right. So that we don't look out of place, we don't look too far forward for the proportion of our house. Also, you know, there's a proportion, you don't want to have
And-
this giant nose sticking out, if you will.
And the porch does not go from side to side. It is stepped in a little bit, and there's no central staircase. The staircase is on the side to match the front door.
It's on the side of the front door, correct, and it's set in so that there could be steps without interrupting the driveway. Because the driveway is pretty tight to the house.
And it's a shared driveway, correct?
Shared driveway, correct.
All right, in your professional opinion, can the application be granted without substantial detriment to the public good?
I think so, yes.
And will not substantially impair the intent of the zoning ordinance?
Not in my opinion, no.
And does it enhance the character of the neighborhood?
The neighborhood, and in particular this house, which looks a little naked without a porch. It really needs a porch on it, whether it's this one or another one, but it does need one because it's sort of blank. It's reflecting the fact that it used to have one, and it's in need of one. I think what we've done is put one on there that's aesthetic for this house and the neighborhood.
That would be all I have.
Yeah, you can see the soffits are cut out. And you're following the same lines where the soffits are obviously cut out there for a porch? Are you following the same lines?
Yes. Now, we have a little more of an overhang than the flat roof one had, but we are gonna make it, you can see the elevations, it works with it.
I see.
So we're trying, that's another reason not to come all the way out to the end, because it would be more difficult to kind of wrap that roof around and get it to blend in. I mean, I'm not big on having things flush because they don't ever line up and you get some character when it steps back.
So this is what you described?
Yes. Roof line wraps in, and then this one lays on top of it from the wraparound. I think it was like E3 or E1.
And would you say that what I'm characterizing as the sister house to the west, that has a porch on it currently that is consistent with the original depth? Would you say that's sort of 9-10 feet?
It's about a 10-foot deep porch.
And the stairs are on the side as well, same design, same type of design, so it's,
Kind of similar.
got it.
Since you are increasing the building coverage, is there a plan for stormwater management? Since you're still going to be 5%.
There is no plan for stormwater management, and probably the reason is that we're increasing the impervious coverage by about 130 square feet, which is negligible to the lot percentage to the lot. So there is no issue that I know of with stormwater at this time, and 130 square feet is fairly negligible to the area of the lot and the amount of paving that exists now.
Did we get engineering report for this? I'm asking.
No, there's no engineer's report for this.
Is that normal?
For a
Yeah,
single family
for this
residential.
type.
For this application.
That would be the application. You can hear from the owner if you like.
Of course, Mr. Wayne, we'd love to hear from Ms. Lewis.
Well, we have to open.
Yes, but first, let's finish with Mr. Passman. Does anybody on the board have any further questions for Mr. Passman?
The sister house right next to it, porch, the existing porch is basically the same size or a little bit larger?
It's 10 feet deep right now. So it's less than that.
Any other questions from the board? Donna? Donna, do you have any questions for the architect?
You said, Ms. Lewis wanted it a little more updated than the original design. Can you, and again, this may be more a quick question, choosing the standing seam metal, pitch, for the roof, what was the deciding factors for
I
those
think it
materials?
was her desire to have that metal roof. She liked it, and there's one across the street and maybe a little west, I think, some standing seam roof, and she liked that. The hip roof style was good because it didn't give us a gable end in the front. We could have a decent slope and still maintain the windows on the second floor. So we had a lot of things going on, and I think we balanced everything properly.
You took into consideration the nature of the neighborhood in the architecture.
Hi, folks. Warner Baumgartner, Fifth Avenue. I'm curious about the reason for actually being here for the variance. What variance is this being requested for?
Building coverage?
Building coverage.
Building coverage. Okay. So I'm curious. I want to educate myself. What is included in calculating building coverage? Are
That's a great question.
Are outbuildings included, like sheds, detached garages, porches?
I believe it's anything that has a roof over it, correct? Basically? Pretty much.
Okay, so
And stairs and
Oh.
impervious surface.
It
Like,
gets a little
like a driveway.
fuzzy with
The impervious surface is not necessary.
not driveways,
No.
because that's impervious.
Yeah.
I thought,
Anything
oh, I'm sorry,
that's
not
attached
lot
to the-
coverage.
Patios
building
seem to be the
coverage.
fuzzy area. If you have a paved patio, but it's not covered, but it's attached to the house,
Ah.
steps
So this
associated
is-
with the porch, those kinds of things.
So this is not a fuzzy porch then?
No,
Okay. So how much of a variance is being requested? How many square feet are we talking about? From what's allowed to what's being requested?
Are you asking us or are you asking him?
Well, you're the,
No, no, you're
Witness.
You're supposed to ask Mr. Patch.
yeah, I'm asking.
There's the requirement is 25%. That's what's in the ordinance. What's existing is 23.7, and what's being proposed is 27.9. So 2.9%
Okay.
above, which I believe is about 100.
Okay,
30 square
that seems minimal, de minimis, as they would call it in legal parlance. Do you have a depiction of the railing detail? I see a elevation there, but I don't see any railing detail.
What we are using is one exactly like the Phoenix railing, which is a very good
A composite.
synthetic composite,
Composite.
which represents a very standard kind of railing from history.
It's a white composite, Mr. Baumberg.
Okay, I'm more interested in the assemblage of said railing. Is this top rail, bottom rail, and then faced nailed balustrades, or is it a traditional historical assemblage where there's a top rail, bottom rail, and the spindles are in between?
The second thing, like you said, top
Second.
rail, bottom rail, and spindles in between.
In
Square.
between, not face nailed. Okay, terrific. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baumberg. Any further questions from the public for Mr. Passman?
On the move tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Passman.
Ms. Lewis?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give during this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
State your name for the record.
Catherine Lewis.
Thank you.
Ms. Lewis, you are the applicant in connection and owner of the house at 1307 4th Avenue.
I am.
And how long has this property been in your family?
61 years.
You're
61 years, you said?
Yeah.
Wow.
My parents. We've been there when I was a baby.
Ah,
You contacted Mr. Passman in order to put a front porch on the property.
Yes,
Originally, it did have a front porch.
yes.
Did you consider the neighbors' porches in connection with the sizing of the request for this size porch?
Well, Don and I, in talking about it, thought that I just want more space. The house is on the small side, and the living room is, as you know, in the front there. And it's rather, not that my parents ever did this, but I plan on doing it. It's rather delightful to open those doors up and go out to the porch. But the porch is just, to me, on the small side. So I thought if I could just get a little more, it could become more of just a better space to be able to use out there as a porch. So I sort of got into this big thing about it, and then I talked to these two, and here we are. Trying to get, I think it's
That's what you get for dreaming big,
well,
right?
for 3 feet, I thought, oh my
Right,
gosh.
increasing 2.7%.
Yeah.
Really, so,
This'll teach you.
We should note that the lot is smaller than, slightly smaller than, it's a slightly smaller than standard lot. It's 37.5 by 150 rather than 50 by 150.
yes,
So
they
there
should
is
have,
also
you
this
guys should
kind
have
of.
never let them build this house all these years ago.
How old do you think we are?
100 years ago, all of it.
Really?
Back in the 1920s.
There was no zoning. like that
Donna was here.
then.
There should be one house there, but there's not.
And you brought a picture of the house as it existed years ago?
Yes, the family has
Well, you know what?
You
Just-
don't want
You don't want
we don't
to.
want to mark it into evidence because you want to keep.
But we all want to see it.
But we won't mark it into evidence. I don't think
It's
anybody's
actually
going to
just,
object.
there was a terrible picture, because my father kind of let the house go, somebody said they used to see the house sometimes, and he let it go as he lived into his 90s. And then we had it sided, and then the front porch, we had my cousin take it off because it was basically falling down.
How long ago was that removed?
That was removed 4 years ago, that was removed about 6 years ago. I've got my
All right, that would be it for the application.
I have no questions for Ms. Lewis. Does anybody on the board have any questions? That is
Look at it.
very nice. Stylist.
Is that yours?
No, somebody left it here. Nobody for Ms. Lewis? Donna, do you have any questions for Ms. Lewis?
No.
I'll open it up to the public for Ms. Lewis's testimony. Anyone? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you.
And that is the application. It's very straightforward. The width of the deck was generated by where the doors are located. Can't really adjust that. The depth of the porch was generated as there was testimony to stagger it with the neighbors so that it would look more architecturally pleasing. And I would submit that the board can grant this variance request.
Thank you, Mr. Wenning. I personally think it will only enhance the neighborhood and the house itself. And it deserves to have a front porch as it was in the past. And I don't think the increase in building coverage is tremendously overreaching.
I would agree, especially since it's a slightly undersized lot. There seems like there would be a little more give on the building coverage.
I would also agree. I think it's an extremely reasonable ask.
We also have to ask for public
Public comment.
Oh, of course. We'll open it up to public comment.
Hope so.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give during these proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, absolutely. Warner Baumgartner, city historian. I'm pleasantly surprised this evening. It's great to see an application that is actually following the local zoning for architectural design. And this is a great addition to the neighborhood there. It meets the standards and the intent of the R1 Residential Historic District. Just for your knowledge, the west side is certainly a different time period represented than the east side of Asbury Park. It's more eclectic, a lot of different variety of styles over there, different alignments of buildings, different size porches. So this is designed right in keeping with the character of that neighborhood there. And I'm very concerned about the assemblage of the railings, because I see a lot of projects in town that just go for the standard, deck, face-nailed spindle thing, and that's really not appropriate. So I'm very pleased with this project. You should definitely approve it.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgartner. Anyone else from the public? Mr. Manoli?
Absolutely.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give during these proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Ernest
State your name for the
McNolly,
record.
400 Deal Lake Drive, Asbury Park, New Jersey. So I think it's a nice project. I think it's kind of bringing back a home to its original functionality, a little bit bigger. I'd also like to say that relative to other things that come before the board, I'm not as pleased as I am with this. I feel that there's too much opinion, too much movement away from codes and the motif of the city. And so I'd like to congratulate you for your application, congratulate the board for approving it, and I'd also like to voice that 99% of the time I don't agree with what you approve with. So I think that's appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manoli. So I'll just reiterate the same things I said before. I think it will enhance the neighborhood and your home, and they deserve to have a porch, especially when it had one originally. And I will make a motion to approve your application.
I'll second it.
All right. Daniel Harris,
Yes.
Eric Galbo.
Yes.
Brittany Ashman.
Yes.
Jill Potter.
Yes.
Christopher Gonzalez.
Yes.
Russell Lewis.
Yes.
And Christopher Avalone.
Absolutely.
Application approved.
Thank you very much.
And I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?